Mark, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, Tim. Um, it's already August,
I know.
so
But it's
um,
already the next month, whenever the next month is. I mean, time passes.
nothing.
That's life.
Tim, this Karoo has sharpened your brain like you
I know.
can't believe, because I never knew that until
No,
now.
no, it's
Okay.
true. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, let's get
Um,
talking. The journalist and the investment banker nattering away as we do
yes,
every week.
as we do.
Hello to all of you.
So,
Yeah.
hello to all of
What do you
you.
want to talk
Can I
about?
ask you, Mark, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, it won't be the first and the last.
Okay. Are we too nice as South Africans? Are South Africans too nice?
Well, speaking for myself, I'm told with some authority and with some enthusiasm that I am not too nice. But they also told, but perhaps you are. But what do you mean by nice? I'll tell you, I've got a statement that's got me into a lot of trouble before. I've said that politeness and deceit are close cousins. Does
Yes.
that
No, no,
fit
no, I'm
in
with
with
you.
what you suggested?
All right. So I'm just going to read you a news story. Um,
Okay.
okay. It actually happened kind of last week sometime, so it's a little bit old, but anyway. The South African Mathematics Foundation is celebrating a historic achievement as the national team secured its best ranking in 25 years at the International Mathematics
I saw it.
Olympiad
I saw it.
held
Yeah.
in Australia. Yeah, from 10th to the 20th of July. Competing against high school students from more than 100 countries, South African contingent finished an impressive 38th. I'm,
Oh.
I'm like, this is the maths Olympiad, right? And
Yeah.
they think 38th out of 100 is impressive. I
Oh, I
mean,
thought we'd won something. I thought we'd got a medal or something. Are you sure
no,
you've
they
got
give the
that right,
medals to
Tim?
everyone. No,
Do they,
no, this is
you
no,
can
no, no.
buy
I'll,
them
I'll
at
tell
the,
you
okay,
exactly
so,
what the situation is. I mean, we came 38th, right?
yeah. Who
So
came 39th? That's the big question. Or who came 37th? Okay, on the podium with us. Yeah,
the in fact Slovakia, I can tell you if you'd like
okay.
to know. So the Chinese won it, and the Americans came second, and the South Koreans came third, as you know, as sort of
Yeah,
happens these
yeah,
days, right?
yeah, yeah.
But so South Africa did in fact have its best, performance. It's had a
Never.
long time. Yeah, yes. But the but we within the range. I mean, you know, uh, um, uh,
But you're not going to win
we
any
come
prizes for
between.
brevity on this subject if you don't get to the point now. Okay, get
All I'm
to the
saying
point.
is
Yeah.
that I don't think that is impressive. I just don't
Well, I
think
don't,
coming
it's,
38th out of 100 is impressive. And
no, I don't think
it sort
so.
of it tallies for
Well,
me with a lot of other things that happen in South Africa, where the benchmark we set, I think, is too low. We should be setting a higher benchmark. We should be wanting to beat, for example,
the US of
countries in
A.
the same. No, no, just countries in the same sort of economic category, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we should try and beat Brazil, which came 32nd, a little bit better than us, or Mexico, which came
yeah.
29th. That's this. These should be our targets. We shouldn't be kind
Well,
of lauding ourselves
you
for coming
open up
38th.
yeah, but you're opening up a ton of boxes here. The one is, you know, no, the one is, are the syllabi the same? Are the, you know, is the state of are we taught the same things? Are we and so we've got to look beyond the ranking towards the reasons. Okay, that would be my observation, and go, because I
Okay,
agree with you,
fair enough.
being in the top 40%, hoo-ha. But
Yes.
if you haven't got spikes on and you're running barefoot against the guys with spikes and steroids, then you haven't got much of a chance, right? So I don't know the answer
Yes.
to that. Okay. But technology and methods of learning and the state of our education system have things to do with it. But I think, I'll bring those all in when you're saying we're not as good as we should, which wouldn't win any prizes in English. Um,
Yes.
so,
The point that I'm making is sort of broader. It's not just about this particular thing. It's about everything that we do across the board. This is just
yeah,
one
yeah, yeah, yeah.
example in the way in how South Africans are not very demanding on each other.
We are lowering our expectations.
Yeah.
We are starting to look at lowest common denominators instead of highest common factors, to stick to mathematical terminology for a
Okay.
minute. Yeah, yeah.
It's like I always say, I had this British friend who always used to say the weird thing about was South Africa was how everything was compared to the Southern Hemisphere. So this is the tallest building in the Southern Hemisphere. Uh,
Yeah.
and then when that stopped being relevant, all of a sudden this is the tallest building in Africa. And then it's the tallest building in Southern Africa, and then it's the tallest building in Johannesburg.
Well, we got to up our game, but there are some measurements we're becoming a lot worse than 38th, my mate. And
Okay,
one of those might be cities. I mean, I was about to brag that my son won the Pi Award once for reciting pi to 66 decimals without stopping. But I wasn't going. I
right.
won't mention that.
Okay, you're
But
right. Let's assume you didn't
yeah,
mention
yeah.
that.
Assume I didn't mention. But if we can't even run a city, if we can't even do a budget, I mean, let's get on to two subjects of this week. The first one was for the first time that I know about, the finance minister and the governor of the Reserve Bank are arguing about the inflation targets. The finance minister being a bit
Right.
outspoken. He's kind of called Joburg up and said, "Hey, guys, unless you start attending to some of these inappropriate expenditures to classify them as a group, we're going to
Right.
stop providing some funding." And then you go a little one step further and go, the previous MEC of finance was now the speaker, and so they haven't got anyone in finance that's in charge.
Okay.
Okay, so now you go like, what are you worrying about maths awards, mate? We can't even run a town. Okay,
Yes. No,
so
it is. It's a marker in time when
yeah,
the finance department criticizes, an administration of people from within his own party
yeah.
for consistently spending fruitlessly and wastefully. It's an
Yeah,
absolute
but
shocker. I mean, it is
but
a
Tim,
marker in
we're
time.
getting that. That is a very common indicator of desperation when people start telling on each other. Okay.
Yes, that's
That's what
true. Yeah.
happens when we're approaching our demise, is that the blame game begins, and
Yes.
even those within the inner circle break ranks in an
Yes.
attempt to find someone more guilty than they are, to in some way
Yes.
exonerate their guilt. And that results in the race for the drain, which I think we're very, very close to now. People are starting to tell on each other. People are saying, "Oh,
Yes.
but did you see how big the car was that he stole?" Wood in my eye, a speck in yours behavior. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that is a strong indicator of our, I hate to say it, of our imminent demise in some sectors. One of them is Johannesburg. I live in Joburg, and I must tell you, I tweeted that bring on the crash. In essence, I said the sooner it crashes, the sooner we can start fixing it.
Right.
And some of the replies I got were astonishing. A lot of them were, "Mark, what do you want to fix it for?" A. B, it's not fixable. C, why don't you build a wall around it and then put everyone in there that caused the trouble and leave them there, to sort out their own. It was quite alarming. There were 50,000 views of that tweet, and they were all like, "Leave it. It's, exorcise it,
Oh, interesting.
amputate it, move on."
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
is that where we're going? Are we going to isolate things and sort of immunize ourselves from them, or can we still fix everything? I think we
No,
can fix everything.
yeah, I'm not even sure that I agree with you, let it fail, because it's only by failing that you really, focus minds on fixing. I think you should be able to anticipate that something's going to fail, then start fixing it. Can I ask you, let me ask you a tricky question. Do you think Helen Ziller would be a good mayor of Johannesburg?
Yes. On
Wow.
balance, yes, and I've considered that quite deeply. I'll tell you
Okay.
why. Because I
Right.
think she could conduct the orchestra, not
Right.
necessarily be the lead violin. But I think
Okay.
she could conduct the orchestra, and I think if her mandate given to her by herself, no less, were
Right.
to build a team in 18 months that could then take Johannesburg to its full potential, I'm not sure how many other people have got that gravitas and could garner that team, because it's clear and obvious that we don't need old people running Johannesburg, with great respect. What we need is 40 to 50-year-olds running the future of the city. So, yeah, I think so. A B, I can't see others that are, and that's the real indictment. Is not
Yes,
whether the real indictment is, where are the 40-year-olds? Where are have political parties suppressed or encouraged the youth? And I think that's the big question. And if I look across the spectrum, getting myself into deep trouble now, I find an
right,
absence of enablement and
right,
a determination to preserve. Okay.
right.
And so you have to buy in, and you have to join in, and you have to be in the inner circle. It seems to me, as an outsider, our leaders haven't changed in substance for 30 years, have they?
Well, but doesn't that apply to Zillow herself? Doesn't that
Yes, it
same that?
does. I mean,
Yeah,
that is the counter indictment of. But having
yes,
said that, in the absence of any, yeah, I mean, I wish there was, a 50-year-old obvious candidate. I'm
right.
not sure there
That's
is,
true.
and if in that absence, then you need a sort of oversight to create an environment to encourage, and you need the sort of captain in the cockpit, pilot flying the plane,
Right.
model for Johannesburg. So yeah, we'll wait and see. I think there are quite a few candidates that are putting their
No,
hands
there
up.
are. There's lots,
So,
and there's lots from
so
the TA. And maybe
yeah,
one of them is,
yeah,
because often, cometh the hour, cometh the person, or cometh the
yeah, yeah. So
candidate.
hopefully we'll be
Um,
pleasantly surprised. But I'm not aware of these people, and
yeah.
and there's no doubt it's going to be a hard fix,
Yes.
and tough times.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 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 for sure. I mean, you don't necessarily. This is what economists tell me. You don't actually necessarily have to fix absolutely everything, but
No, you don't.
you have to be pointing in the right direction. And as soon as you start pointing in the right direction, oddly enough, things come to you. You don't have to go to them.
Yeah,
You can see that in Cape Town. They
yeah.
moved the city. They started pointing in the right direction, and then all of a sudden, magic happens. It just does.
Yeah,
People are more confident.
Joburg won't be solved without the citizens of Joburg, no matter the leadership, because the citizens of Joburg has become a very loosely defined population, and a very mixed
Right.
one, in my view.
Yes.
And so you need some impetus from the people who live. You need to persuade people to pick up more litter than they drop. Little things. People need to see evidence it's a bit like a weight loss program. You need to lose a couple of kgs in the first month, otherwise you're going to give up, mate. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, yeah, we've all been there, right? and
Yeah.
and so we need evidence, and yet we need patience. It's a terribly difficult, vital thing, because it goes to the heart of the entire country, which is where you started. These things.
Yeah.
We need a case study. We need a case study of how it took 18 months to get the right team on the right track to bring the citizens of South Africa almost apolitically along with you for a higher purpose than political acquiescence and loyalty. Okay. And
Yes.
ideology. And that's a very, very difficult. And with the answer lies in leadership. That's it. There's no other.
Yes.
There's no other. We need a leader
Yes. I mean, it is difficult because
and
often.
competence.
Yeah, I mean, often, cities, because you're dealing with a large number of people, a large place, you do have to uh, um, sign long-term contracts. And so when a new administration comes in, it's difficult to just click your fingers and, to sort of change things immediately.
Yeah, but you can change the rules on day one. I'm sorry, Tim. I've been in situations where you've had to walk in and change the rules. In real
Right.
businesses where I've had that job to do, and you walk
Okay.
in, you go, let's take finance. Finance is finance. Finance has little room for, subjectivity and moods, and finance is finance, man. There is a
Yes.
fair market value for a service. So you walk in there day one, you go, guys, every contract's up for scrutiny. We're not going to do anything that's not at fair market value, and that's
Right.
it. And you
Yes.
start with that premise, and you start wading yourself through all the nonsense, and you get to a truth, and you get to people who will subscribe to and enable that truth, and
Right.
see the virtue of it. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's possible incrementally, but with huge determination and leadership. But
Yeah.
well, let's wait and see. I mean, we can't not talk about tariffs, eh?
Oh, I suppose so. I mean,
Because I
you know,
suppose.
I mean,
Oh well.
but I mean, it is no. I mean, it's sort of quite big that that the South Africans made a kind of solid effort. They put forward a whole bunch of proposals, and the Americans just didn't even bother. I mean, they
Yeah,
didn't even call them
yeah.
back. I mean, it's sort of
Well,
so. I don't know whether that means it will happen in future, and that it's still kind of on the table as the South Africans hope. But it is slightly worrying that we were just ignored completely. You
yeah,
know,
we were to again be talking about leadership or the absence thereof or the misguidedness thereof or whatever. But let me say this. I mean, I think Trump's. Ooh, it's Freudian
the
slip.
Trumps.
Tariffs,
Yeah,
tariffs, tariffs. I think tariffs
same thing
as
as
a
it happens.
yeah, as a strategy are fundamentally flawed because essentially tariffs are just a tax in disguise, a thinly veiled disguise. I mean, it's just another form of tax because the American
Right,
people are going to pay 30% more and the government's going to keep the diffs. So it's
right,
like a bit of a bullshit, right? First of all. Second of all, you should expect all of your competitors to start planning for a world without you as a partner, mate. Now, in South
yes,
Africa, we're turning to Africa, which has got a total economy about 10% of that of the USA. So whether that's a well guided or whether that makes our world smaller instead of bigger, I don't know. But
right,
maybe tariffs will force us to think more deeply about beneficiation, about becoming, independent of our import-export balances, all of those kinds of things. So I think there is upside in it if you survive it. But I think it's fundamentally for I think Trump will be found out for this being a short-termist populist mess because the rest of the
yeah,
powerful world, forget about us, the rest of the powerful world are going to
right.
go, really? Okay, you want to start a fight, mate? Hope you've been to gym because here we come. Okay,
You know,
and
except that so far at least, the inflationary effects of tariffs in the United States have not become apparent. Um, I mean, why is that? Do you think, or is it just early days?
well,
I
it's
mean, it could
early
be just
days. They
early
only
days. You know,
start.
so,
They only start
yeah,
this week. Up to now, it's
yes,
just been
right,
talk. Now it's going to start. Now you're going to see the price of something higher than it was last week. I mean, by decree. And if you
right,
at the center of the free market world, okay,
right.
if you overrule free markets, I mean, who are you, man? I mean, well,
Yes,
what
yes.
is, make America what again? Anyway, I've got high disregard for how we've been treated, and I think the US is flawed here, and I think they're going to get taught a proper lesson, and I think it's going to be a meal served cold, like in 3.5 years' time. Okay.
Yes,
Anyway,
yeah.
enough of that. Um,
Okay.
you know what, Tim? I've noticed
Can
that
I?
everything's getting bigger.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Really?
Well,
I've noticed I get bigger. I mean,
yeah, like I said, everything, Tim. I didn't expect you to know. We're all getting bigger, but
yeah.
but airplanes are getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
Okay, they
Okay.
now, and a lot of that has got to do with cargo, and a lot of that has got to do with a thing called the de minimis tax rule. Do you know what that is, Tim?
It's that very tiny objects when they're imported are not taxed. So a
Well,
lot
in
of
in essence,
Timu's products that you
yeah,
buy online, they split
yeah,
them up into different packages so that
yeah.
they can slip under
In,
the de minimis
in,
tax. Yeah.
in a sentence, if the cost of collecting the tax is less than the tax you collect, it falls below the de minimis line. Okay, and so you don't tax it. So that is welcome to online shopping world. Okay.
Right.
Now, and that means that previously, when you had to ship an extraordinary bulk, you would ship it because it was too big. Now, you add all of these things together and you chuck them in an airplane, and you can order something today and get it kind of tomorrow, And
Yeah.
that's so planes have got so big. I mean, if you look at I don't know if you know the Embraer E195 EL plane. I'm sure you do. You're very familiar with
Oh
it.
yes. No, no,
But
no. Very
but
familiar
you
with
could
that.
fit a Boeing 777 kind of inside it. Okay, that's how big it
Okay.
is. And these things are big engines. I saw the world's biggest cruiser. okay,
Right.
which is known as something like the icon of the seas or something, is guess how much more than the um, what was the one that crashed into the iceberg? Help me. The
Oh, oh,
Titanic.
the
Guess how
Titanic.
much
Yeah.
more the world's biggest cruiser weighs than the Titanic?
I don't know that answer, Mark.
8 times heavier. Okay. And
Okay.
it still floats. Okay. And it's
Okay.
got sort of 8,000. No, it's 5 times heavier. It's got 8,000 people on it. Things are getting bigger, Tim. Things are getting bigger,
Okay.
including tariffs. And the last thing that's getting bigger, which I want to focus on, is
Right.
retirement age. Okay.
Okay.
In Denmark, they've
Right.
moved the retirement age compulsorily up to 70 years. 70, Tim. That means you and I are still in the ring, but okay. And why have they done that? Because
Right.
they're not making babies.
Okay.
Okay.
That seems
And that
sensible.
is hey, that is down, they put down to a thing called gynecis, gynecistation or something, which basically
Okay.
means that the emancipation of women has made them want to do careers and do all sorts of fabulous things. And so babies are not number one. So there's no more
Right.
youth. So we got to
Right.
we got to work longer, Tim. You ready for that,
Okay.
man?
That's okay. I'm no, no, no. I'm a journalist. I'm fully expect to work until I'm 99. Because no money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And if you live longer, you
That's
have to
problem.
work longer because the pension don't go that no further no more. Okay.
No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The I wanted to ask you about another thing. Just talking about sort of airplanes and shopping and stuff like that. Do you notice that Shoprite have decided to close their Malawian business?
In Malawi,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Haven't
So
looked into it.
I mean, it's just a strange thing for me. Shoprite were I remember, sort of 20 years ago, were absolutely convinced that Africa would be the way of their route to expansion was through the continent. And they started opening stores all over the place. And they're kind of retreating now. And I'm just wondering what that, what's behind that. Because we're supposed to have an African free trade zone, soon. So
Yeah.
it just seems like a very, very odd sort of decision. And it's slightly disturbing.
Well,
I like the idea of a sort of Africa free trade zone. I think it's a brilliant
yeah,
idea.
me too. Some friends of mine are touring Africa, literally touring Africa in their cars and those fabulous things that you can sleep in and move around in,
Okay,
and they reached Uganda so far, and they send back pictures and videos of what they're looking at and doing. Nothing has changed
okay,
forever.
yes, yes, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and so maybe that's got something to do with it.
yeah.
Otherwise, the Shoprite expansion story and the Checkers reinventing story is quite extraordinary. I mean, Checkers have just opened a branch in Hyde Park Shops. I would have thought that was not part of their world, but it is, and they've zooped this thing up, man. It fits in there.
Okay, right.
And so I think they are. I tell you the thing that impressed me once the most about Shoprite. I happened to do a deal with them on fresh produce many, many years ago. And I
Okay,
met the top executive team in some discussions, and not one of them had a title. Their business cards had their name and their function on it. And I thought, this is
okay.
different.
Oh, that's interesting.
And
Okay.
and and
Uh,
and so Whitey Basson is an extraordinary leader. And so
yes.
I can't imagine that withdrawal from Africa is a decision they took lightly.
No, 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 it's true.
What do you
All
think
right,
of
Mark. Well,
Anglo?
our
By the
time is
way,
up.
I've got to give you the mic. What do you think of Anglo pulling out of platinum, Tim? Pray do tell.
Well, you can read about it. I wrote about it this morning, and
I know you did. Go on, give us a bit of insight there. Go on,
no,
a
no, no.
minute,
It's
half
just,
a
it's
minute.
just okay. I just don't know whether Anglo are fantastically unlucky or whether they're just terribly bad planners. But every time they exit a mineral, the mineral turns around immediately. So immediately. So platinum was regarded as a kind of yesterday mineral because it's used in catalytic converters, which are used in internal combustion cars, and internal combustion cars are going, of the way of the dodo. So, but now it turns out that just recently platinum is like shot up about 40%.
Oh dear. All
So
right.
I don't know. Bad luck.
Well,
Anyway.
I saw a little picture of a guy saying he's going to trade now. His trading ambitions were to double his money, and he's been trading for a month, and now his trading ambitions need to be to triple his money. Okay,
Okay. Yes.
because
Yes.
because
And
because he's only
isn't that
got a
just
half
life?
of it left. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Have a good week. Spring is
Have a
not
good week.
far away.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers, Mark.
Cheers.